Most of us were raised to believe that aging is a slow decline, that fatigue, weight gain, low libido, and brain fog are just part of getting older. But here's the truth. We are what we believe. Your subconscious mind drives 95 to 97% of your daily choices. The foods you crave, the stress you tolerate, the goals you think you can or can't achieve. If you believe decline is inevitable, your body then listens to that. But when you challenge that belief, when you decide to learn, explore, and take ownership of your health, your body begins to rewrite its script. That's what we do here. We merge science with self-agency so you can live from possibility and not limitation. And that brings us to today's topic. The popular conversation around peptides has narrowly focused on weight loss. But from a clinical perspective, that's a profound misunderstanding of their fundamental mechanism. Peptides are not merely fat loss agents. They are cellular signaling molecules. Their therapeutic potential lies in their ability to upregulate or downregulate specific physiological processes that naturally decline with age, particularly during the menopausal transition. In my coaching practice, we use peptides not to chase a number on a scale, but to address the root causes of age-related decline, compromised cellular repair, dysregulated metabolism, and blunted hormonal signaling. So today, we're moving beyond that hype and into evidence-based applications of peptide therapy for women in perimenopause and beyond. So before we dive in, let me take a second to introduce myself. I'm Adrienne, the founder of Yellowbirdie Wellness. I am a health and empowerment coach who completely shifted gears over the past 5 years after walking through my own personal transformation. In May of 2020, I experienced a traumatic event that turned my entire life upside down. Suddenly, all of the strategies I'd relied on for decades as a nutrition coach, strength coach, and a national fitness competitor just stopped working. Within a few months, I looked in the mirror and I barely recognized myself. I was 40 pounds heavier, exhausted, and using a bottle of wine every night just to numb the chaos in my life. Does that sound familiar? But that season of struggle became my turning point. Through it, I built a system that helped me, and now hundreds of women, reset their metabolism, restore their hormones, and rewire their bodies to perform like they did between the ages of 27 and 31. My company, Yellowbirdie Wellness, has evolved into a full-service online platform designed specifically for the modern aging woman, a place where mindset, metabolism, and medical-grade innovation all come together. I work side by side with a team of licensed medical providers who specialize in comprehensive lab testing, personalized peptide and hormone protocols, and verified pharmaceutical-grade sourcing. Every plan we create is delivered through my signature framework, the Breakthrough Body Blueprint, which is a 12-week experience that doesn't just teach you about peptides, but it shows you how to use them to build body, energy, and confidence most women only dream about. Our mission is simple: to help women turn back the hands of time from the inside out, without shame, without extremes, and without losing themselves in the process. If you want a taste of what we do inside the program, just comment Yellowbird below, and you can subscribe to my free newsletter where I go really deep into the science of peptide therapy, hormones, and all the things that matter to the aging woman. I break down the latest research, practical strategies, and real-world applications of the top peptides I use in my coaching practice so you can start integrating the science into your own journey. Now, let's begin with the science. To understand why peptides are a paradigm shift, we must first understand the pathophysiology of the menopausal transition. It's not just an estrogen deficiency. We see a concurrent decline in growth hormone secretion, a state known as somatopause, leading to anabolic resistance, reduced muscle protein synthesis, and a loss of metabolic flexibility. This is compounded by increased systemic inflammation and a decline in the body's intrinsic repair systems. Peptides are short chains of amino acids that act as precise biochemical messengers. Unlike broad-spectrum hormones, peptides are short chains of amino acids that act as precise biochemical messengers. Unlike broad-spectrum hormones, they exhibit high specificity for target receptors. This allows us to use them as targeted tools to modulate specific pathways. So for instance, to stimulate the pituitary to release a pulse of growth hormone, or to directly upregulate mitochondrial function in damaged tissues. The clinical goal is to restore signaling fidelity that has been lost, prompting the body to resume functions it has progressively neglected. So now that we've covered the basics of how peptides works, let's move from theory into practice. How they're actually used clinically to restore function in women over 40. From my experience, the objective is not weight loss. It's the restoration of function. When your cells function better, fat loss, energy, and resilience are simply the byproducts. Let's walk through the key therapeutic categories that have the strongest evidence base and the biggest real-world impact for women in midlife. So let's start where most women notice change first, which is metabolism. When hormones shift, so does mitochondrial efficiency, and that's where peptides like MOTS-C come in. MOTS-C is a mitochondrial-derived peptide that helps improve insulin sensitivity and glucose regulation by optimizing oxidative metabolism. It helps your cells use energy more cleanly and efficiently. Then there's AOD 9604, a growth hormone fragment that supports fat metabolism without overstimulating cell proliferation. It helps recalibrate how your fat cells behave, making it a powerful tool for tracking stubborn adiposity while preserving lean mass. So once the metabolic foundation is set, the next thing to do is to focus on repair, because healing slower isn't a sign of age. It's a sign of signal decline. That's where peptides like BPC 157 and TB500, which is thymosin beta-4, a fragment, come in. These compounds promote angiogenesis and cellular migration by activating growth factors such as VEGF, accelerating repair in muscles, connective tissues, and even the gut lining. In my practice, we use them to support everything from chronic neuropathies to intestinal permeability, otherwise known as leaky gut, helping women recover faster and stronger in their bodies again. Once repair is underway, we then look at restoring hormonal rhythm, specifically the pulsatile secretion of growth hormone, which naturally declines with age. The synergistic duo of CJC 1295, which is a growth hormone releasing hormone analog, and ipamorelin, a growth hormone releasing peptide, stimulates your own growth hormone in a rhythm that mirrors your body's natural pulse. Mimicking the body's natural cycle reduces side effects while supporting lean muscle. Bone density, which as an aging woman, we all know that's important. We should by now. But also bone density, tissue regeneration, and even deep sleep architecture, one of the most underrated factors in midlife recovery. And then finally, we can't talk about functional optimization without addressing the brain. Emerging research on peptides such as cerebrolysin and selenk shows promise for neuroprotection, focus, and mood stabilization. These peptides interact with neurotropic factors and neurotransmitter systems, helping improve resilience under chronic stress. Because aging well isn't just about physical strength, it's also about mental clarity, emotional steadiness, and the ability to stay sharp and connected to your purpose. The most significant outcomes my clients report are not just a smaller waistline, which we all love, let's face it, ladies, but also restored vitality, mental clarity, and a return to high performance living. When I talk to the physicians that I work with, they have a very specific clinician's perspective on GLP-1 agonists. Most of the time I'm being asked about GLP-1s and how that can fit into their lifestyle. I'm often debunking some of the myths surrounding GLP-1s. I know many of you are hearing about dramatic results with peptides like semaglutide, tirzepatide, and the emerging retatrutide. It is crucial to understand these are not simple weight loss peptides. They are glucagon-like peptide 1 receptor agonists. Potent prescription medications originally developed for type 2 diabetes that have significant metabolic benefits. Semaglutide mimics GLP-1 to enhance insulin secretion, suppress glucagon, and slows gastric emptying, which potentially reduces the appetite. Tirzepatide, now that is a dual agonist targeting both GLP-1 and GIP receptors, offering superior efficiency in clinical trials for both glucose control and weight loss. And retatrutide, which is still in clinical trials, this represents the next frontier as a triple agonist. So now we have GLP-1, we have GIP, and glucagon, showing unprecedented results in early studies by significantly increasing energy expenditure. So as a health coach, my duty is to the safety of my clients. The pharmaceutical versions of these drugs, which are Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro, are produced under rigorous FDA-monitored conditions. The rise of the gray market, where these compounds are sold as research chemical, is a reality that I must address with full transparency. So here is my unequivocal clinical position. The safest, most effective way to use these agents is under medical supervision with a prescribed pharmaceutical grade products. However, I am a realist and I understand that cost and access are significant barriers for many women, not just women, everyone. This has led to a demand for the gray market. So if you are considering this route, you must understand the profound risk. There is no regulatory body verifying the purity, the dosage, or the sterility of the product. You could be injecting underdose medication, a contaminated solution, or in worst case scenario, a completely different or harmful compound. I'm not saying all of this to scare you, but I want you to make very educated and conscious decisions. Because of the volume of questions I receive, I have personally vetted a very limited amount of resources. Full transparency, I have cautiously evaluated for my own research purposes. Because of the volume of questions I receive, I have evaluated for third-party certificates of analysis, which you will see listed as COA, from accredited laboratories verifying the identity, the purity, and concentration of every batch. This is the absolute bare minimum for safety if you are going to explore the gray market for research purposes. So let me be perfectly clear. Even with a verified COA, this does not equate to the safety of an FDA-approved product. It simply mitigates the largest risk of the gray market. Self-administration without medical monitoring of your metabolic panels, thyroid, and pancreatic enzymes is inherently dangerous. This is why, in my private coaching protocols, I can provide education on source verification for those who have made an informed choice to proceed, while also providing the essential medical oversight, interpreting your labs, calculating safe starting doses, as well as continued support and monitoring for adverse effects. This is not a recommendation, it is a risk mitigation strategy for a landscape that already exists. The ideal pathway remains a full therapeutic relationship with a licensed provider. The responsible alternative is to never navigate this without both verified sourcing and clinical oversight and general professional support. I want to change gears and talk about the critical importance of clinical oversight and diagnostics. This is not a field for self-experimentation. The efficacy and safety of peptide therapy are contingent on what I would separate into 3 pillars. So number 1 is the diagnostic rigor. A protocol selection must be guided by comprehensive biomarkers. So IGF-1 levels, inflammatory markers like CRPHS, which stands for high sensitivity C-reactive protein, metabolic panels, and hormone profiles. Without this baseline data, you are administering therapy blind. That's whether you decide to go with the gray market or through medical support. Secondly, pharmaceutical grade sourcing exclusively from FDA-registered compounding pharmacies that provide independent third-party verification of purity and concentration. That would be my preferred way to go. The gray market is unfortunately fraught with contamination and mislabeling. Third, dose titration and monitoring. The therapeutic window must be respected. Dosing is not static, which is why I get concerned when people are buying these dosing guides on the internet. In my coaching practice, sometimes we are adjusting dosing strategies on a weekly basis based off of biofeedback. It's adjusted based on clinical response and follow-up labs to optimize outcomes and mitigate potential side effects like transient water retention or injection site reactions. This triad of diagnostics, quality, and monitoring forms the non-negotiable foundation of our peptide programs. So, let's talk about safety, tolerability, and contraindications. When administered under medical supervision, peptides are generally well tolerated. The most common side effects are mild and transient, such as localized redness or itching around the injection site, or minor headaches as the system acclimates. The more important consideration is long-term strategy. Peptides are a powerful adjunct, but they are not a substitute for the fundamentals. A protein-prioritized diet, which I cannot preach it enough. Progressive resistance training, another non-negotiable. Effective sleep hygiene. The therapy is synergistic. It makes your foundational efforts more effective. It would also be wise to conduct regular follow-ups to assess for any potential downregulation of receptors or shifts in metabolic needs. This ensures the protocol evolves with you. So who would be a good candidate? Identifying the real ideal candidate is certainly one of the most important things that we could talk about, right? The women who derive the most significant benefit are those who are metabolically stalled. They're doing all the things, but nothing is working. They did all the things that worked for them in their 20s and 30s and maybe even early 40s, but those same things, even though you're replicating that process, you're still not getting that same result. So that would be the ideal candidate, whether it's a GLP-1 or another type of peptide. The women and men who are thinking about undergoing peptides, what you need to know is that if you are already implementing a healthy lifestyle, but are confronted by persistent barriers like suboptimal IGF-1 levels despite adequate sleep and exercise, you have clinical signs of metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, dyslipidemia, stubborn systemic inflammation, or poor tissue recovery from injury, the characteristic menopausal fatigue that is unresponsive to dietary changes. For these individuals, peptide therapy can be the key that unlocks their body's latent capacity to heal and thrive. So let's review a couple of real-life case studies. These 2 women have gone through my program, they have graduated, and they now feel armed with the education and the support where they can kind of put together their own protocols. I am there for support and guidance. I'd like to start with one of them. This is a case of metabolic dysregulation. A 52-year-old female with elevated hemoglobin A1C and fasting insulin. Her hemoglobin A1C was 5.9%. She also had low IGF-1. She reported profound fatigue and an inability to lose weight. We initiated a protocol of MOTS-C to address mitochondrial efficiency and CJC 1295 with a blend of ipamorelin to restore growth hormone pulsatility. After 8 weeks, her fasting insulin normalized, her IGF-1 increased by 40%, and she lost 4% body fat without a caloric deficit, solely through restored metabolic function. Case number 2 would be a case that I would describe as musculoskeletal injury and inflammation. She's a 48-year-old woman. She's an avid runner with chronic patellar tendinopathy. Imaging confirmed tendinitis. Our physician prescribed a cycle of BPC 157 and TB 500. Concurrently, she followed a targeted physical therapy protocol. Within 6 weeks, her pain score decreased from 7 out of 10 to a 2 out of 10. And she successfully returned to running with improved biomechanics. In both cases, the peptides facilitated a biological environment conducive to healing. The patient's own efforts then produced the results. So the clinical takeaway is that the future of longevity medicine is in targeted regenerative therapies. Peptides represent a frontier in our ability to intervene, not just at the symptomatic level, but at the level of cellular communication. This is not about turning back the clock. It is about repairing the mechanisms that allow you to move forward with strength, clarity, and resilience. To delve deeper into clinical protocols, mechanisms, and strategies, please subscribe to my newsletter, subscribe to my YouTube channel, which will give you the most comprehensive info on prescribed peptides, as well as the gray market peptides. If you are ready to make a change, you're like, hey, I have explored everything, nothing is working. You are speaking my language, Adrian. If you are ready to explore whether or not you are a candidate for physician-supervised peptide therapy, click on the link in either the video description or on the YouTube channel description and schedule your blueprint call with me. Even if we don't end up working together, I can give you a roadmap on what your next steps might look like. For a lot of women, it starts with just that level of clarity. This content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute a patient-practitioner relationship. I am not a doctor. Even if I was, I'm not your doctor. I do work with many qualified, amazing physicians, but I am not a physician. I'm certainly not your treating physician. Always consult with your healthcare provider before initiate any type of nutrition or exercise plan or diet plan. Ladies and guys, your capacity for vitality is not lost. It's just simply waiting for the right signal. Let's find it together. I'm rooting for you, and I'll see you in the next video.